Hello guys, it's me, Marcin Erdsieck. I'm talking about ships again. So, what I talk about first is this ship is the last pre-dreadnought ship in the world left. If you don't know yet, I'm talking about, of course, RGN Mikasa. Mikasa is a pre-dreadnought. That means it's an ironclad from 1899. She was built in 1899. It's pretty old. Old lady. The old fighting lady. We especially we know about aircraft carriers named Fighting Lady. It was Yorktown. She was called the Fighting Lady. But if I'm talking about the Fighting Lady, I'm talking about Mikasa. Mikasa, she fought in basically Battle of Tsushima. Tsushima was a battle in 1985 against Russia and Japan. The cue of the battle was that Russia wanted to have a trade set up with China throughout the sea or rivers that were occupied by Japan in that time period. And Japan didn't want Russia to have that trade with China, so Japan fought against Russia. And Japan had one good admiral, Admiral Togo, and he fought on the Mikasa when the Battle of Tsushima happened in 1905. Let me excuse myself. The cue also is that Russia didn't really have good people in their ships, right? I mean, they have good people in the ships, but it's a story. The Russian people who fought on those ships, like Aurora, and name another one, Diana, for example, or name another one. What's it called? What's she called? What's she called again? She was called also the special name. I don't remember the name, but I've put it down in the video. If yeah, I put it down in the video. Anyway, and the people are almost drunk every day, and they literally, I'm not making this up, this literally happened, they mistook a fishing trawler for a Japanese ship and they fought against the fishing trawler. That happened. What also happened, so in war, accidents happen, you know. I mean, Prince Eugen literally rammed Leipzig in World War II. Florida, US Florida, literally shot the admiral on USS Atlanta, friendly fire, 13 times. Another thing happened was War of Tsushima. Russian ships fought against themselves. So Diana fought. I don't know if this happened, but I'm making the names because it happened. Diana literally shot Aurora, 4 shot against Diana, 4 shot against another team, another allied ship. They were literally friendly firing each other a whole lot of times before even fighting the Japanese. So most of the ships were already pretty much bruised up to fight against the Japanese. And Japanese had this very good tactic use to literally cross the ocean and keep the Russians in their bay to keep them attacking. So the Russians had to retreat from Tsushima again a few hours after the fight. 2 ships still exist as museum ships that fought against Tsushima. Aurora is a cruiser, an armored cruiser from that time, 1889, 1898, 98, yes, and Mikasa, I guess 1899. So those 2 ships still exist, but Mikasa is a pre-dreadnought, an ironclad, and Aurora is an armored cruiser. So, but I'm talking about Mikasa today, and that's what I'm going to talk about Mikasa today. Mikasa was built by Vickers Shipbuilding Company, Barrow, England. He was laid down on 24 January 1899, launched on 8 November 1900, and commissioned on 1 March 1902. Specifications are 15,140 tons displacement of standard displacement, 131.7 meters in length, 23.23 meters of beam, and 8.28 meters 28 of draft. She ran on 2 steam engines and 2 turbines. Her performance was 80 knots at 15,000 horsepower, 15,000, and 900 nautical miles at 10 knots. So she couldn't really go. She could go far, but not really cross the world or something. Not that far ahead. Let me tell you. Her main belt was 102 millimeters to 292 millimeters. Her upper belt was 152 millimeters. Her decks were 50 to 76 millimeters. Her barbettes, but the barbettes, by the way, if you don't know, barbettes are the turrets where the turrets are placed into. If a ship sinks or ship capsizes or whatever happens, the turret would stay on the barbette and would fall off if something happened. Like, for example, the Bismarck I talked about earlier, she sank and her turrets were still in the barbette. The barbettes were not going away somewhere, you know. The turret is in the barbette and that keeps it safe from damage or essential use, that it still sinks with the barbette in place of the turret. So you will not let alone shoot the turret and the turret will fly off because it's not safety. No, it's always in the barbette. So that's small information for you there. I'll put a photo in the video about the barbette and the turret. I will explain the pointer arrows to the explanation and what it is. So you don't worry, everything will be explained. Casemates were 50 to 152 millimeters and armament were 4 2x2 205 millimeter guns. Can I talk? No, I can't. Secondary batteries were 14 by 1, 152 millimeter guns and 20 by 1, 76 millimeter guns and 8 47 millimeter guns and 4 42 millimeter guns. She also used torpedoes and she had 4 by 1 457 millimeter torpedo tubes. So, and let me tell you, the World War One to pre-World War One torpedoes were they existed and they were really good, but there was an issue in World War One, and for that you had torpedo netting, and ships had torpedo netting on when they stood still, so torpedoes would caught up in the net and would not explode to the ship, but explode in the net, so nothing would have happened. And World War II torpedo netting were not used almost. The only used time was on Tirpitz in Norway in 1943. She was Tirpitz, as you know, sister of Bismarck. She was in fleet, so she wasn't really used, and she also had torpedo netting on, or camouflage netting on. So that's the story of torpedo netting. Also, talking about here, is Mikasa is named every Japanese ship name has a meaning to it, and Mikasa was named after Mount Mikasa in Nara, Japan. For example, Yamato is an old Japanese word of Japan, so Yamato literally called Japan. Musashi is an old Japanese word for Japan, it's called Japan. Nagato is a mountain. Not a mountain. Was a district. It was a district called Nagato. Yes, that was it. Gaga is a fountain. It's a mountain. Agagi is one red castle in the sky. It's a Japanese aircraft carrier. Akatsuki is a river in Japan. You know, destroyers and had their names. Cruisers had a name. Battleships had a name to the area, and aircraft carriers had named after mountains or something else. Like Sarashukaku, the Flying Phoenix. Not really a mountain, but that's a name. Every ship had a name, and every name had a meaning. I also have a video, not a video, I have a file on my computer, which I have almost every ship name of Japan in that list with the namings behind. I made that list with two Asian friends of mine, who I speak to only one with now, and they helped me translate the names to the meaning. And I will soon put a video online with all their names and what the meaning is in the ship name. So stay tuned for that one. Further about Mikasa. Mikasa is a pre-dreadnought battleship built for the Imperial Japanese Navy (IJN) in the late 1890s, and was the only ship left of her class. She was the only ship of her class because there's only one ship, Mikasa. Didn't have any sisters. Named after Mount Mikasa in Nawa, Japan. The ship served as a flagship of Admiral Togo Haihachiro throughout the Russo-Japanese War of 1904-1905, including the Battle of Port Arthur on second day of the war and the battles of Yellow Sea and Tsushima, days after the end of the Russo-Japanese War, because her magazine accidentally exploded and sank the ship. Happened. She was salvaged and her repairs took over 2 years to complete. Afterwards, the ship served as a coastal defense during World War I and supported Japanese forces during the Siberian intervention of the Russian Civil War. After 1922, Mikasa was decommissioned in accordance with the Russian Naval Treaty as preserved as a museum ship in Yokosuka. So, decommissioned. What does that mean? Decommissioned means you're out of commission. That's what it means. You can pull it online, and it's not commissioned anymore to the war or to the service or to your country. You're out of commission. You're done. Ships who are decommissioned have two things they can do with the ship. One, you can see this with the Dutch ship, the Zeven Provinciën. She was decommissioned. It was sent to Peru to serve for Peru. Was sent to the scrapyard by another country. She was sent to that country, and they kept using the Zeven Provinciën, and then she was sent to the scrapyard, and that's it. I have a private picture of that, by the way. I'll send it in the video. So that can happen. You can send to the scrapyard and you'll be demolished, and there's no evidence of the ship left. Or what usually happens with a lot of ships, not a lot of ships, but what happens frequently is they sent as a museum ship. You can see that with Fushun, with Anshan. You can see it with the Zeven Provinciën. You can see it with Mikasa. You can see it with name any American ship that has fought in the war, and it's probably somewhere around. Alabama exists, New Jersey exists, Worcester. Worcester. Yeah, we call it Worcester, but it's called Worcestershire, but everyone calls it Worcester because you don't say Worcestershire, you said Worcestershire. It's important to pronounce Worcestershire. Worcester is in Quincy, and is in Quincy. Yeah, it's a place in America called Quincy, and that's where Worcester is. It's a museum ship. So, buy that. They can send as a museum ship, and they serve that museum ship, and you can cross it, you can buy a ticket, stand on the ship, you can go to the magazines, the engine rooms, you can show the machinery, you can go into the barbettes of the turrets, you can see the armory of the ship and the armaments, you can stand anywhere where you want, and you can see it in action. Not in action because ships are decommissioned and they don't sail anymore, but they're still. You can see them, and you can cross the ship, and you can see everything that's happening in the ship. You can see that. She was badly neglected during the post-World War II occupation of Japan and required extensive refurbishing in the late 1950s. She is now fully restored as a museum ship and can be visited at Mikasa Park in Yokosuka. Mikasa is the last remaining example of a pre-dreadnought battleship anywhere in the world. So what does that mean? In World War II, everyone knows, Japan got heavily bombed by the Americans, occupied by the Americans, right? And they neglected the museum ship Mikasa, so they had to refurbish the ship in 1950, and they had to do repairs and everything else. And what happened was that it's a lot of money to eventually to even think about refurbishing or repair a museum ship, because you need special materials, you need special equipment for a repair. A lot of that happens in Japan, in Yokosuka, Mikasa, sadly enough, by the way, because it's not really I'm not really glad to talk about the ship got neglected, because no, I'm a huge fan of ships, I love ships, and seeing a ship neglected is sad for me personally. So you know, it's it happens, but it's sad for me. What can I more talk about Mikasa? So she was built in England, as a lot of Japanese ships were built in England. I'm thinking about Izumo, for example, also built in England. Congo, after World War One, was built in England. Sister ships though were built in Japan, but Congo was built in England. A lot of ships were built in England because England had a very good standhold with the navy. Every ship they produced was of top quality. And after Mikasa, Japan took people to England to learn from the UK and sent them back to Japan, and they would use that technology they learned in England in Japan to build a navy ship. So they literally shared their ideas and technologies with each other to make high quality ships. So they were UK and Japan were actually very friendly in World War One and before World War One, because they had a lot of ships and the technology used, they shared technology, they shared people with knowledge, they shared this, they shared everything else. So they had literally good allies in each other to build a high quality navies for both teams. From that. So that's my video for today. It's not rather not a long video, not as long as the Bismarck though, but it's still a long video. You can always see a potential in a ship, right? I'm not talking about Mikasa, for example. I don't see an ironclad. I see a pre-dreadnought. I don't see this. I don't see that. I see a pre-dreadnought battleship that, for her time, was very strong and very accurate of that time. Well, that's my end of the video. Hope you enjoyed. Mikasa is a very nice ship, very nice battleship. You can still see her in Yokosuka, Japan. So if you ever go to Japan and you have an opportunity to go to Yokosuka, I really recommend you buy a ticket, go to Yokosuka Park, go to Mikasa Park, right, and go on Mikasa, because it's really worth it. And there are still some heavy ammo shells from Yamato are still on Mikasa displayed. So if you want to see a Yamato shell, go to Mikasa Park in Yokosuka, and stay on there. Take a picture. Send me the picture, by the way. I really want to see the picture with you on Mikasa. Alright, bye.